Alright fellas, here you're back in Pokemon Masters, and tomorrow we're going to be getting the Legendary Gauntlet. I forget what number it is, it's probably like number 10 at this point. And we're going to be facing Moltres, Uxie, and Latias, right? So, obviously that comes with the addition of a new Pokefair banner for the Legendary Gauntlet, which features the characters that are able to help you against these Legendary rings, right? So, the characters that are featured are Red and Snorlax, Ingo, and Diantha. Diantha is for Latias because the Latias is weak to Fairy. Ingo is for Moltres because Moltres' big gimmick is that it needs weather other than sun, or else it's very, very difficult to beat. So there's that. And then Uxie, Red doesn't really do much. Red doesn't really do much for Uxie. He's just kind of a sub-in, but you can make the argument that he's got paralysis with Body Slam, I think. Yeah, he's got paralysis with Body Slam, which can help out against Uxie, right? So there's that to consider, I guess. But whatever. That's the banner that we're going to be getting. Ingo, Red, and Diantha. So, basically, should you summon for this banner? No. Hell no. God no. Fuck no. All the adjectives. Well, it's not even adjectives. All the different ways you can say no, right? You shouldn't really summon for this banner for numerous reasons. The big overall reason is the fact that, like, these units, while solid for the most part, Ingo and Red are still pretty good. Well, Ingo's still really good. Ingo's good. Ingo's really good. Red's pretty good. Good, I'd say. Diantha's okay. But you got to consider we have so many other better units running. Nemona's better than these guys. Gloria and Leon are both better than these guys. We've got the rerun for the Johto trio, all of which I would say are better, except maybe Ethan. I think Ethan's probably worse than Ingo, but again, different roles, so can't really say too much there. But still, a lot of more valuable characters that are worth summoning for, right? Especially, we also have the seasonal scouts, so if you are a gem buyer, still wouldn't recommend summoning on this banner because you'll have those seasonal scouts to worry about, right? As well as, of course, the anniversary coming at this point in a little over 2 weeks, literally. The anniversary's first banner is going to drop on the 28th. For me, it is the 11th. That is, what? So, 17 days? So, you got a little bit over 2 weeks until the anniversary drops, and you should not be summoning on this banner, right? Banner does not apply many valuable characters. Ingo, I think, is relatively valuable, but that's about it. But again, more valuable characters, right? Seeking Suit Chris, infinitely better option, as well as, of course, waiting for the anniversary. But anyway, I digress. Let's go over the banner units and more information on the banner, right? So let's look at the banner here. Ingo, Red, and Diantha Pokefair Scout. The banner will last until the 26th of August, so we'll be able to probably see the anniversary before this banner goes away, so you can at least, you know, have that off of your shoulders. I don't think we'll get the data mine before then. Actually, maybe. This may be the day we get the data mine, so it still wouldn't be that helpful, but we should be getting the anniversary character reveals on the 25th, I believe. I think that's when we got the trailer last year. And we should get the data mine similar time, right? So this banner probably is still going to be up for the data mine. Not really too sure there, but still, at the very least, wait until then to summon, right? You don't need to summon, though. You really don't. You should not be. Anyway, I digress. Let's go ahead and look at each individual unit here. I'm not going to go super in-depth to each unit's kits because that would take way too long. This video would be like an hour, but I'll go over them briefly. So, Red and Snorlax here are a support sync pair. Pretty good bulk stats. Let's consider level 140 actually for a second. I was looking at Red earlier. 268 defense, 288 special defense. Pretty okay stats. 690 HP. That's pretty good as well. But of course, the big thing with him is that he's got Mini Potion All for AoE healing, Body Slam for paralysis, Rock Smash for defense debuffs, Training Move which lowers sync countdown, which is good. You know, you can give him Head Start 1, Adrenaline, whatever, and have some sync stuff. He also has the ability to raise ally crit by 2 and applies the super effective next effect to an ally, meaning if you're trying to do super effective damage, Red's going to be a great support to have, meaning he can effectively apply super effective next to your allies a lot. Especially because he's also got a max move, G-Max Replenish, which restores the MP of his moves by 1 whenever it is used. So you can get your Mini Potion All back, and you can get your Training Move back, meaning you have 3 total uses. Even then, at 1 out of 5, he also has this Training Move NPR, meaning you can get even more uses out of your Training Move, which is obviously great, right? Giving those super effective nexts and whatnot. He also has Max Regen, which applies gradual healing to himself after using his max move. Team Alert Mind 1 raises the defense of all allies by 1 whenever the user's HP drops to half or below. Not really a major ability. Wouldn't say this is worth too much. And Group Moral Support 4 raises special defense of all allies by 1 after using a user's trainer move, but of course 50% chance. So may not always happen, but you can raise ally special defense that way, right? So Red with these abilities here, not a bad support for sure, but there's definitely a lot of better characters for sure, because Red does not have speed, nor does he have any form of big offensive debuffs or offensive buffs here. He does have the super effective next, which is great, and the crit, which is great. But of course, if you want a super effective next support, there's a lot better options, like Special Costume Jasmine, or not Special Costume, Holiday Jasmine is going to be rerunning in the Select Scouts here, and you can pick her up, and she has super effective next as the support unit, right? There's other options as well. Obviously, Special Costume Steven, he's not a support, but still, he has it. And can apply it to an ally. And there's decent few characters that can apply super effective next to themselves, or at least to an ally, right? So Red, while he's good in that regard with this ability, doesn't really make him too unique or stand out all that much. And of course, with the grid, he gets some stuff like Hostile Environment for extra paralysis chance, defense debuffs guaranteed with Honor Roll 1 here on Rock Smash, Group Therapy, removing status conditions from allies, basically some status condition type stuff, right? And 3 out of 5, he gets some decent stuff. He gets Safety Net here, meaning he can apply Endurance to all allies after using a sync move, which is a good ability for sure. But a lot of characters can also do that, or quite a few anyway. I wouldn't say a lot, but I know Special Costume Jasmine can. Actually, Special Costume Jasmine, not Holiday. He has also got Adrenaline 1, which of course we've already talked about his sync countdown stuff. This definitely is a great ability for sure. Not required, but still really good. Mini Potion stuff, and that's pretty much it. I mean, Max Shielding Strikes raises his own defense. This can be good to make him a little bit less squishy, because Red, he's a solid enough tank as it is, but he does have some noticeable problems when it comes to tanking, right? It's not the worst thing ever, because he does have potions and he gets gradual healing after using his max move, but it can be noticeable in some content where you have a lot of strength selected, right? So do want to keep that in mind. Of course, he's also weak to fighting, so pretty much any fighting stadium stage you can't really bring him into, so that takes him out of Bruno for the most part, Marshall. I can't think of any fighting character. I think those, but Bruno also counts for 2 stadiums, so there's 3 stadiums that he's going to be very, very neutered in when it comes to those stages. Obviously, other stages he can be brought in. Hala, that's another one right there, Hala. And I think that's it, just looking at these characters at a glance. Yeah. Some other characters may have fighting moves just scattered around, but again, you do want to be kind of careful of those as well, because it can be a tiny bit squishy, but overall not too bad. He can still do what he needs to. But overall, nothing too crazy as a support unit here, especially in the modern day. He was pretty good, well, really good back when he released, just because we didn't really have stuff like physical moves next, special moves next supports, or super effective next supports. So having something like this, as well as being able to debuff defense, was pretty big back then, right? So there was that, as well as buffing crit. That was still a really, really great ability back in the day. Still is now, but it's less noticeable now because a lot of units are able to max their crit on their own, so it's not really too big of a problem. Sync Countdown is still really, really great of an ability. But yeah, Red, while a great support for sure, not really super top tier compared to what we have now. Like, if we look at Sigma Suit Chris, she's got a lot. She's got special moves next, Rain, being a weather support is still really, really good, right? Special attack buffs, crits, speed buffs, NPR. She's got, I'm pretty sure she also has mini potions or she has potions, I don't remember, and other stuff, right? So she's got a lot similar to Red here, just other than the super effective next, which doesn't really matter too much. Though it can, for sure. Neo Champion Calum, he has Dark Zone, Rain, special attack buffs, special moves next, physical buffs, physical moves next, everything, evasion. That unit does so much. And if we want to compare other Pokefairs, I'm going to regret this. Let's see, let's look at other Pokefairs here for supports. Acerola, one of the best supports in the game. Grassy terrain, sun, physical moves next, attack buffs, crit buffs, all the stuff. Again, Jasmine is a seasonal unit, but still, she also applies super effective next, as well as physical moves next, special moves next, defensive buffs, crit buffs, potions, a lot of stuff there. Mina here is also able to apply terrains, which is great. A lot of abilities here. Buffing ally special attack, buffing gradual healing for all allies instead of just herself, like kind of what Red does. Really, really good tank as well here. Able to apply, again, Fairy Zone and Rain. So there's that. Okay, pretty much there. Cygnus with Morty, amazing gauge support. I don't have to go into super big detail over modern support units, right? I would say every modern support unit is probably better than Red. After modern Pokefair support after Red released, I'd say it's probably better than him. Mina, I'd still say she's better. Fairy Zone's amazing. Rain is amazing for support. Brennan, definitely better. Annabelle's a little bit iffy, but I'd still say she's probably better overall. But I could be wrong there. I could be wrong. Anyway, that's Red. Let's now go over Diantha. Diantha's a big problem. Taking her at 1 out of 5, she is garbage. Absolute garbage, in my opinion. She gets no multipliers other than Hit the Gas 5, which, coming off of a 390 special attack stat for 147 base power move, still not doing all that much. It's not like a Hyper Beam off of a 400, 450 attack stat, where you're going to be doing a lot. So this 50% multiplier, not doing that much for her. I'm going to be completely honest. Crit buffs are great. There's a trainer move which raises her special attack and special defense by 2. That's great. And charges gauge whenever she's a Mega Gardevoir, but that's just wasting a turn. Not worth it. 160 base power on the Sync move, which is horrible, but of course she has a Mega, so that's the reason for it. Propulsion 1, which can be nice, but nothing crazy. Mutually Assured, also not really crazy. And then she can Mega Evolve, of course, which takes her pretty meager 390 special attack to 467, which is definitely respectable. 164 special defense, which is still whatever. And then she keeps the moves here. And instead of having Mutually Assured, she gets Fairy Power 5 for a 50% DPS multiplier. Pretty much, in order to have Diantha do any sort of sensible damage, you need to Mega Evolve her, which is taking away your Tech EX, your Support EX, or whatever type of EX you're going to be using in order to use her Sync move, which is going to be doing about fuck all. Right? This unit, at 1 out of 5, not very capable of doing a lot. I do not like this unit at all at 1 out of 5. I barely like them at 3 out of 5. I'm just being completely honest with you. The Moonblast do not hit hard outside of Mega, and even with Mega, they do not hit hard enough to make up for the fact that you are already missing a Support EX, because if you were to go for a Support EX, you would be doing essentially the same damage, minus the stat buffs, which is noticeable for sure, but still. The fact that this unit basically does like no damage, even with her Mega for the most part, is pretty saddening, because I've had troubles making her work in Stadium at 2 out of 5 actually, because I had her at 2 out of 5, which gives me sync nodes. I still had trouble trying to make her work, even in Fairy Weak stages. Granted, I was a little bit newer in the game, but still, not really the greatest unit. And speaking of dupes, this is when she actually gets a little bit useful, but still not really. Honor Roll 1 here for her special attack debuffs off Moonblast. Doesn't really matter too much, but you got it. Sync nodes, these are really your only big players here. That's about it. 3 out of 5, this is where things get big, because you get your other Sync nodes and you get Devastation here. Devastation, 100% multiplier, depending on how much the enemy special attack is debuffed. Not great. Gonna be honest, it's not. Just because getting this ability is so hard, because you do need the honor roll in order to actually get special attack debuffs, or you need to have an ally who can apply special attack debuffs, whether it be your support or otherwise. Also, did I mention she has bad gauge issues? This unit sucks with gauge. She has horrible gauge management. You need to bring a lot of speed. A lot of speed in order to make this unit actually, like, not be completely garbage with the gauge. But anyway, I digress. Getting her Devastation activated, especially at its maximum, is very difficult, because you need one specific partner in order to have both Fairy Zone and those debuffs, which is Cygnus Wally. You need them in order to do it. If you want to look at, go for that. Sure. Okay. You look at Wally here, dude is able to apply, not special attack debuffs there, but in the buddy move where he's able to debuff the attack and special attack by 4, but you can only do it whenever an ally Mega evolves, so assuming you're sync nuking with him or Diantha here, you have to wait until the sync move in order to actually get those debuffs, which means you're skipping out on this Devastation anyway. Again, you can still get this ability with on a roll 1 here, but it's really unreliable, and plus that means you're missing out on probably another sync node, right? So let's look at this. Can't pick that up. That's about the best you're getting, right? You're getting 4 sync nodes and Devastation, which isn't bad for sure, but honestly, it's just not the greatest. It's really not. Sure, that's about really all I can pick up. Yeah. This is pretty much all I can pick up, right? I can't pick up any of that, so pretty much missing out on a sync node there. You can get the Moonblast Move Gauge Refresh, which you're definitely going to be needing. Half of the reason Cygnus Wally exists is to try and mitigate some of the problems that Diantha has. He was literally built for her. Able to debuff special attack, that's for Diantha. Fairy rebuff and Fairy Zone, for all Fairy units really, but again, also Diantha. But the team speedy entry too, in my opinion, is just a kicker, because why would he have this? Why does he have this random ability? This is for Diantha because her fucking gauge is so bad, as well as Head Start 1 because you want to get to that same move quicker and quicker, right? In order to get this buddy move off here, so you can get the fairy rebuff and special attack debuffs, so you can then use Diantha's sync move afterwards and have this devastation nearly maxed out, or maxed out depending on if you got on a roll here, right? So there is that. By the way, if you don't pick up on a roll, you can actually pick up this 5th sync node here. Keep that in mind. Anyway, Diantha's got glaring flaws. 1 out of 5, she does essentially no damage, nuke or DPS. And even if you can get to the point where you do her max DPS, you have to go through a lot of hell to get to it, especially because of her gauge being so bad. 3 out of 5, she gets all of her nuke multipliers, but she can't even activate the devastation without the help of some other outside source. And if you don't have Sigma Suit Wally or any form of Fairy Zone, which you're already missing out on that 50% buff from Fairy Zone and 30% from the rebuff, if you want to count that, you need somebody who can debuff special attack. Figure that one out, bud. Figure that one out. Those getting special attack debuffs probably isn't that hard. You have like Karen for Snarl with double drop, or not double drop, but you do also have Getsus who does have double drop on his Noble Roar. So you do have the ability to get special attack debuffs, but then you're also missing out on the Fairy Zone. And if you want to bring Mina as a support, go for it, but I'm pretty sure your gauge is going to be really shitty. Anyway, that's the 3 out of 5 nodes. 4 out of 5, she gets Satisfied Snicker, which is able to help out her issues with getting Devastation activated, but it costs 10 energy. So you're pretty much missing out on your sync nodes again, which can, of course, become a problem for you, but you also can get on a roll, so you can get those double drops. But again, missing out on a sync node, which can be a little bit big for you, as well as Recharging Strike, which helps out her gauge a little bit, but still, it's kind of a glaring issue with her, is her gauge. And then 5 out of 5, Trainer Move Propulsion, which is good, but nothing too crazy. Getting that sync countdown is great, right? In all scenarios, it's definitely not a bad ability. And then Initial Synchro Healing. This ability, I don't see the point in. It can be good, but I would never pick it up, probably anyway. Unless I'm trying to do like a solo or something, or some very cheesy clear on a legendary arena. Either way, 4 to 5 is probably your best bet if you want to get something like Satisfied Snicker. And even then, you have to go to 4 to 5. Red, at least, is really good and does most of the things he wants to, like 80% of the stuff he wants to, at 1 out of 5, just fine, which is great for him. But Diantha, if you're going to try and use Diantha, especially off-type, for one, if you're doing off-type, you're probably going to need Sigma Suit Wally, or at least Mina, or any sort of Fairy Zone setter, whoever, right? So Sigma Suit Hao, I guess, as well. You're going to need Wally, and you're going to need her at 3 out of 5, at minimum. 4 out of 5 recommended, I'll be honest. But, you know, whatever. That's Diantha. Let's look at Ingo, probably the best unit in this banner, right? Alright, Ingo. This unit, pretty good. Grid tiles suck for his Pokefairy tiles, but whatever, we'll ignore it. Unit's able to set Sandstorm, which is amazing, right? He was our first ever weather support. He's got potions for healing, which is great. Mudslap for 1 gauge spammable, as well as accuracy debuffs. Pretty much what you want in a support nowadays. Heals, weather, 1 gauge spammable. Awesome, right? And then he's got the Trainer move, which raises all allies' attack and raises crit by 2, and then applies free moves next to all allies when he's in a Sandstorm. So he's going to be very, very gauge efficient there. And not only is it going to be gauge efficient because of the free moves next, you're going to be gauge efficient because he's got Sandy Pep Rally, which raises speed of all allies by 1 when you use when the Pokemon uses a move in Sand, right? Which also includes Sandstorm itself, I believe. Anyway. Yeah, I remember. So there is that. Able to buff speed, apply free moves next, crit buffs, attack buffs, of course, a weather itself, potions for healing, which is great, right? As well as having pretty respectable defenses here, 233, 250. Of course, these defenses themselves are not respectable, but he's got Sedimentary, which increases his defense and special defense by 30% in a Sandstorm, which, if we feel like doing math, let's do that. 302, essentially, physical defense when in sand, and, oops, clear. Oops, 250 times 1.3, 325 special defense when he's in a Sandstorm, right? So in a Sandstorm, this unit has a lot of bulk, very, very similar bulk to Sigma or Cynthia pre-Mega Evolution, just without the defense buffs. And he also has Ferocious Affliction 2, which raises ally special attack and attack by 2 whenever the trainer's Pokemon uses a status move, aka Sandstorm. Only thing I wish this guy actually had was like an extension of Sandstorm, even if it was only 30%. Just because having to constantly reset it is annoying, but you can definitely fish around for this in a lot of scenarios. and whatnot. Like in a stadium battle, you can hope that the enemy uses an X item or a turn and move or whatever instead of attacking you. And even if they do attack you, most of the time it's not going to be the biggest thing in the world. Obviously, if they attack you with a higher power move, it's going to be a big problem. But for the most part, Ingo can at least live one hit without being in sand. And once he's in sand, he's going to be taking a lot better, right? So there's that. All this guy needs is 1 out of 5 to be really good. 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5. He doesn't really get too much. But honestly, he's good enough as it is. Sandstorm can be a little bit of a problem for allies because they're going to be taking the chip damage from sand. But it's honestly not that big of a deal when you consider how many allies he helps. Obviously, he helps most ground and rock units because most of them require sand. Not too much anymore, but that's still a lot of allies that he's able to help out there with that, as well as pretty much any unit that can benefit from what he does, right? If there's not a character that needs a specific weather to function, or, yeah, not a specific weather to function, like a zone or terrain, that's fine. You can have someone else do that. Ingo here can be a good support in order to tank hits, potion up, debuff accuracy, buff speed, apply free moves next. Especially if they're an attacker or a physical attacker, he's going to be pretty solid as a support to buff crit and attack pretty quickly. So he's got that, right? And again, dupes don't really do too much for him. We'll look at it. 2 out of 5, he gets potion, master healer stuff, guarded entry, which raises his defenses. This can be a decent enough ability to make him even more bulky. Gritty guardian, you can raise your defenses. Sure, but I wouldn't really pick it up. Soothing Sand, restoring his HP whenever using a move in Sandstorm. That's really great there for sure, having more healing to himself. Adrenaline 1, great ability there. Awesome. And that's mostly it. Mud Slap, move gauge refresh, that can be really, really good if you need even more gauge for him. But Adrenaline 1, I'd say, is probably the biggest ability here at 2 out of 5, so you can get that sync countdown after using the sync move, especially because, you know, support EX. If you EX them, stats are going to be even better, of course. Speed, already not bad, by the way. 310, not too bad of a speed stat. So there's that to consider. And 3 out of 5, he gets Endurance. Sure, honestly, Endurance is really solid of an ability. I'd probably pick it up if you do have him 3 out of 5, or somehow planning to get him to 3 out of 5. Sandstorm NPR, this can be great to keep up his Sedimentary, if you need to. Pocket Sand for extra accuracy debuffs. I used him in order to buff Signasuit Lucamine to get her full nuke in, and this ability was pretty good there. Fall Forward, charging move gauge whenever an enemy misses him because, you know, the accuracy debuffs. I wouldn't really pick it up, but this does kind of highlight how good the accuracy debuffs can be, because if you're not taking a hit, you're not taking damage, you're even more bulky, right? And then Mud Slap Ripple Effect 2, which makes it have a 30% chance for these accuracy debuffs to be AoE. So there is that. And that's mostly it for Ingo here. Of course, Potion NPR as well. There's that. 4 out of 5, he gets Sand Slinger, 100% chance of lowering attack when a move is successful in a Sandstorm. This can be good if you have an ally who has, is it Pecking Order? I think it's Pecking Order, or something like that, or whatever ability may require attack debuffs. Sandstorm Team Hit and Heal. This ability is actually not too bad, because having gradual healing on allies after using Sandstorm is great, because you need to not have them die from gradual damage over time. This can be great, you know, in longer battles where you need to have, where your enemies, or allies, I mean, when your allies are taking more and more damage from AoE moves, sync moves, whatever, like especially in a legendary arena or legendary gauntlet, as this is for, especially when Moltres has Heat Wave. You know, you want to have the ability to heal up as much as possible, right? And Ingo definitely does that with his potions and this ability. 5 out of 5, Vigilance is useless, and Revenge moves to 9 here, also pretty much useless, right? Anyway, Ingo, great unit, probably the best unit in this banner here for sure. He has definitely shown signs of aging. He doesn't really do a lot of abilities that modern weather supports do, but he's still also our only sand support as well, so there is the niche for that. Ingo's still good though, for sure. He's still a really good support for sure. Not going to try and downplay him at all, but he's definitely not as great as a lot of our recent or more recent weather supports. Signasuit Morty, Signasuit Acerola, Signasuit Chris, Neo Champion Calum. A lot of these units are really, really good, right? Not Palatine's B. I'm kidding. Mostly, not really. Anyway, yeah. Ingo, really great unit. Red, pretty good unit as well. Diantha, not really. I'm gonna throw shade on Diantha, don't worry. Anyway, Lodge Banner overall, not really too worth summoning for. By the way, do know that these characters all will have a 1.5% pickup rate. I probably should have mentioned that earlier, but oh well. But anyway, yeah. Wouldn't recommend something for this banner. A lot of better units releasing later, especially Signature Chris. If you want a good support, that is a good support to go for. Heavily recommend getting this character, or at least saving it for Neo Champion Caleb. I recommend getting at least one of the two. Both amazing units, so I definitely recommend picking him up. Anyway, I'm going to end the video there, guys. I hope you all enjoyed. Good luck on your Legendary Gauntlet and the banner summons as well, if you do choose to summon, despite all of the signs saying not to. And yeah, I'll see you all later.